Hey everyone, welcome to Tony for Demonetized Instantly. Tony for you. Demons come in a variety of shapes and sizes, though most of us associate them with horrible monsters ready to tear apart our very soul at a moment's notice. But demons are just as known for their ability to tempt humans in many different ways. Plenty of stories tell us of people selling their souls to demons in exchange for great power and influence. Some deals with demons are done for good, like King Solomon, and some for evil, like the bargain with Faust. But to convince someone to give away their soul requires quite the silver tongue. Perhaps no other demon is so adept at manipulating humans than the Succubus, and by extension, the Incubus. Demons known for their seduction and mastery over the wants of man. Stories tell of even the most staunch and devout followers of God falling to the temptations and wiles of the Succubus. Lust, vanity, and pride are their domains, but knowledge is power. So let's explore the lore of these demons of the night. Without any further ado, let's talk about the Succubus. This video was made possible by the great people over at my Patreon. If you'd like to support, check the link in the description below. Also, I have a Discord, so if you want to come chat with me and other wannabe theologists, come join and hang out. Succubi, as they are most commonly depicted, are supernatural entities that appear to men in the dead of night to entice them into sexual activity. Regardless of how appealing that may sound at first, the activity is less a show of passion and more so a transfer of human essence. The activity itself is usually described as unpleasant for the man involved, and more often than not, non-consensual. Early descriptions of a succubus attack take place in the hypnagogic state, or the transitional stage between wakefulness and sleep. This is the state those that suffer from sleep paralysis witness their hallucinations in. Unlike sleep paralysis, however, interactions with succubi are said to cause intense physical pain, mental distress, and sometimes even death. It's important to note that a demon originally has no gender, and only assumes forms in situations that best suit them. So the distinction between succubi and incubi, the male variation, simply denotes their physical appearance at the time, not their true nature. The earliest incarnation of the succubus is incredibly difficult to pinpoint, but they may be tied to the very beginnings of human civilization. The word succubus is derived from the Latin word succuba, meaning paramour. The word paramour was used to describe a lover of the more illicit variety, mostly adulterous extramarital affairs. Even earlier etymology of the word can be tied to succubare, meaning to lie beneath, which implies the position the men are in when they suffer an attack from the succubus. Their depictions as beautiful women that steal the souls of men was not how they originally started, however. In the Jewish mystic tradition of Kabbalah, succubi could be related to Lilith, Adam's first wife. According to their belief, Adam's first wife was a woman known as Lilith, and she refused to be subservient to him. Rather, she wished to be his equal. This upset God greatly, and he rebuked Lilith's request. In retaliation, Lilith spoke God's true name in the holy Garden of Eden. God's name carried an immense magical weight behind it, and as a result, Lilith's body transformed into something grotesque and deformed, with snake-like skin and bird talons. Lilith fled the garden and ascended to the rank of demon queen, being the mother of all demons, and who is also believed to be the consort of the fallen angel of death, Samael. Despite her title as mother of demons, it was said that she was the only one of the 4 demon queens that could not give birth, instead resorting to corrupting souls, kidnapping children, and, of course, extracting life essence from men. The children of Lilith are demons known as Lilim, and act in much the same way as their mother. Others believe the succubus to be derived from more monstrous than demonic beings. Lamia and Impusa from Greek myth were repulsive monsters that could shapeshift into more flattering forms to seduce men into secluded spaces. After getting these men in their clutches, they would usually feast upon their flesh and move on to the next unfortunate traveler. Lamia specifically was one of the many victims of Zeus's, let's just say, sexual escapades, which often end horribly for the women involved, Lamia being no different. She lost her children to Zeus, and as revenge, she plagued the lands as a devourer of men and children alike. Even earlier in history, within Mesopotamian tales, describe a demon known as Lilitu. These were a group of harpy-like female demons that steal children from their mothers, specifically while they were breastfeeding. Despite being described as horrific to look at, these Lilitu were known to appear before men in the dead of night to extract sperm and suck life essence, even in addition to drinking the blood of children. Even in the earliest incarnation of these demons, they required the seed of men to do something with as a means of profaned reproduction. Speaking of reproduction, it was this topic that got me interested in succubi and incubi in the first place, and not in the perverted way, I swear. An explanation of the process is detailed in the Malleus Melificarum, or the Witch's Hammer. This book was written by a man named Heinrich Kramer in 1486 and was key to the justifications of the Inquisition. Within these pages hold some of the most evil and hateful descriptions of devil worshippers as well as women in general. Much of the work is a treatise on rooting out and acquiring confessions from witches who have sold their soul to Lucifer in exchange for power. A disturbing amount of the book is dedicated to the ideal torture methods which were to be implemented on suspected witches. Honestly, this book deserves a video on its own, with how it and it alone led to the deaths of potentially thousands of innocent women across Europe, with nothing to justify it save for the hateful ramblings of a now discredited clergyman. There isn't much to be taken seriously from this 3-part book, but what it does do is attempt to explain the reproduction cycle of demons. The book speaks of witches who would intentionally copulate with lesser demons in accordance with Lucifer's wishes to give birth to demonic offspring and bring on further corruption. Despite the witch's hammer revolving around demon worship, very little is dedicated to specific demons, except for the succubus. Demons, according to Kramer, are unable to reproduce naturally, stating in his book, "Moreover, to beget a child is the act of a living body, but devils cannot bestow life upon the bodies they assume, because life formally proceeds from the soul. And the act of generation is the act of the physical organs which have bodily life. Therefore, bodies which are assumed in this way cannot either beget or bear." The demons can get around this issue, as later he explains. Yet it may be said that these devils assume a body not in order that they may bestow life upon it, but that they may by means of this body preserve human semen and pass the semen on to another body. The reproduction of demons is described as the succubus appearing before a man in the dead of night, in line with historical depictions. After doing the deed with the willing or unwilling man, the succubus quickly transports the seed to the incubus. The incubus presumably seeps demonic taint into the man's sperm and then deposits it into either a willing witch or, more often, an unsuspecting sleeping woman. This process leads to women giving birth to entities known as cambion. These half-demon, half-human spawn would suffer maladies such as increased susceptibility to possession, physical deformities, and a proclivity towards evil acts and lesser morals. Despite being an interesting interpretation, this work led to basically any woman who's confident in her sexuality to be branded a succubus in disguise, and any woman who is pregnant out of wedlock to be accused of carrying a cambion. Later, King James, yes, that King James, wrote a dissertation titled Daemonology in 1597, which was also a collection of 3 books, though this time it didn't lead to a horrific inquisition. The good King James of England somewhat corroborates Heinrich Kramer in saying that not only demons, but all spiritual beings are unable to reproduce naturally. Demons require the seed of man to proliferate their species, while angels are made from the good souls of God-fearing Christians. In King James's writing, however, he speaks of the succubi and incubi as the same demonic entity. He speaks of the process as a demon siphoning the sperm from a dead man and delivering it directly to a woman after corrupting the seed. This is more in line with the idea that spiritual entities don't have a gender. They merely mimic the forms of man to further their own goals. Despite most Abrahamic interpretations of succubi and incubi agreeing with one another to varying degrees, the story of Pope Sylvester II tells a very different tale of the demon. Legend has it that Pope Sylvester, who previously went by the name of Gerbert of Aurelic, entered a pact with a demon known as Meridiana. In his early life, Gerbert became infatuated with the daughter of the dean of his school. The woman rejected him, but Gerbert's infatuation would not die down. The young scholar admitted to being overwhelmed by lewd and unholy thoughts surrounding her, which almost broke him. It was shortly after his lowest point that the woman Meridiana appeared before him. Unlike his unrequited love, Meridiana was willing to indulge any intimate act with Gerbert. Not only would she satisfy the man physically, but she also promised to bring riches, high rank, and even make sure the man was remembered in history. The only thing she asked for in return was that the man remain loyal to her, regardless of what the future may bring. Afterward, Gerbert quickly ascended the ranks of his university as well as the church, writing a series of works encompassing topics such as mathematics, astronomy, and even music. He was widely considered to be one of the greatest scientists of his time, and obviously eventually went on to ascend to the highest position in the Catholic Church, the Pope. The way the public knew of his association with the demon was because he admitted to everything on his deathbed. Why he admitted to consorting with a demonic entity at his final moments, we don't know for certain, but even at the end, he had nothing to say about her that wasn't a glowing endorsement. Through the many interpretations of the succubus, it's difficult to say for certain not only what they look like, but even their disposition towards humans. Perhaps there are different types of succubi and incubi that can either completely annihilate a human, siphon their soul, or even be mutually beneficial to both of their lives. It's impossible to say for certain, but history has shown that you should err on the side of caution when meeting a demonic entity, no matter how hot they are. In Shin Megami Tensei, the Succubus and Incubus appear in very different forms. The Succubus appears in very much the exact way you'd expect. A tall, beautiful woman with demonic wings and tail, wearing very little to cover up her body save for the tight leather leotard, gloves, and boots. Pretty accurate to the seductress spoken of in legend. Important to note is that she wears what looks like a chain around her foot with a metal nut attached to it. Keep that in mind for later. The Incubus appears in a very different way than the Succubus, here appearing as a small imp-like devil with wings and a tail, with much less human features than his female counterpart. He also wears very little clothing, and what we can assume is his engorged member is on display for all to see, covered in hearts no less. I assume the design is to insinuate the difference in motives between the demons. While the succubus entices men with their beautiful bodies to copulate with them, the incubus sleeps with unknowing, unconscious women. For that purpose, the creature seems to have assumed a form that could be easier to sneak around in, and is much less concerned with physical attractiveness. The incubus also wears a chain around its leg with a screw attached to it, in contrast with the succubus's nut, insinuating that they are closely connected beings and possibly even the same demon in different forms. Try to wrap your head around that next time you're looking at this beautiful lady. Overall, a fantastic set of demons with tons of love and attention that went into their designs. Well, that covers the succubi and incubi. Let me know your thoughts on these seductive demons in the comments down below, and while you're down there, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. There was a lot more to these seemingly self-explanatory demons than I first thought. Special thanks to Andre Vinicius de Silva Valens, Anton, Kalos, Frankie Stoned, Goose Kebab, Jim Taylor, Just a Middleman, Matt M, Patty123, Stuart Ash, The Digital Dutchman, The Toaster Messiah, VideoGamer75, and many more for supporting the channel on Patreon. If you'd like to support, check the link in the description below. Thanks for watching this kinky demon retrospective, and I'll see you in the next Tony for You. Have a good one.